You're listening to Gay News Radio, the latest news from the LGBTQIA community and its allies. And now, from the heart of America, this is GNR.
You're listening to Gay News Radio. I'm Brandon Carmody. We want to welcome our listeners in the United States and around the world. You're listening to Gay News Sunday. We have a lot to get to today, folks, so let us begin here. Suzanne DeWitt Hall is an author and a HuffPost blogger. 4 days ago, Suzanne posted a piece on the Huffington Post titled, Jesus, the First Transgender Man. Now, in the last 4 days since Suzanne's article went live on the Huffington Post, there's been an unbelievable backlash of reactions from readers, everything from inappropriate comments to downright scary hate mail and borderline threats of violence. So right now we're going to bring in Suzanne, who has a statement for our listeners to kind of let them know what her experience has been like over the last 4 days since the posting of Jesus, the First Transgender Man. Suzanne?
This is Suzanne DeWitt Hall. I am a freelance writer and a HuffPost blogger, and a couple of days ago I wrote a piece called Jesus, the First Transgender Man. The article was intended to be a bit satirical, but the primary goal was to point out that the miraculous stories outlined in Genesis about Eve's creation from Adam's rib and Jesus' miraculous incarnation through Mary, they didn't deal with the genetics of these miraculous creation stories, and that were therefore kind of free to interpret them. And in both cases, in the case of Eve, she came from male flesh, the rib of Adam. In the case of Jesus, he came from female flesh, Mary's. My intent was to kind of playfully say, okay, that makes them transgender, not in the common use of the term, but in that the term crossing or changing, becoming, use of the word trans. What happened is a sort of firestorm of commentary and vitriol around the web. There's been a couple of videos produced with flaming commentary and all kinds of names, lots of name calling, lots of degrading kinds of statements and vulgarity. And there's been some threats. There's been references to finding the HuffPost offices and Charlie Hebdoing them and burning them down. There's been things. There's one woman said that she'd like to reach through the screen and strangle me. It's been an eye-opening experience. And I'm still processing what to do about it. I don't know if I should be reporting some of these statements because they were kind of more even than implying violence, but suggesting violence. I don't know if that should be reported to some sort of authority. And also, I'm being kind of chastised by the gentler Christians, including some friends, that the post was simply inflammatory and that I'm enjoying the this kind of negative attention. So it's a lot to process. It's been a very interesting couple of days watching it unfold, and we'll see where it goes from here. So I'm continuing on my comments about the threats and things that have been coming through in response to my HuffPost article about Jesus as the first trans man. What I've been doing is collecting screen captures of some of these comments that involve violence, because I think it's one thing to call me names or, say I'm stupid or say I'm blasphemous. That's one thing, but threats of violence are entirely another, especially in this world where we're saying on the news so often amazing, appalling, horrifying acts of violence on innocent people, with people who have ideological differences with their victims. So I decided I better do some screen captures, and I sent the ones that are focusing on HuffPost offices directly to them to kind of give them a heads up. And then I've been kind of trying to figure out what to do. I don't know at what point you notify authorities, how much people are just crazy versus, how literally to take that kind of threat, and how worried I need to be about people finding out where I live and kind of coming after me. So this is a whole new world, and I didn't expect to get that kind of notoriety. My goal is always to be thought-provoking and to hopefully get people to ask themselves some questions about how things work, but it certainly evoked a much different response than I ever anticipated.
Thank you, Suzanne, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your courage and you speaking out. Please remember that freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and freedom of the press are basic liberties that we've had in this country for a very long time, so we appreciate you sticking with your values and with your laurels. Our sincere wishes on the safety of you and your loved ones. Please take whatever steps are necessary. Best wishes. Thank you, Suzanne. We have some important news and updates for you at this hour out of Tennessee. Governor Bill Haslam's office announced on Friday that the bill that diverts $445,882 from the University of Tennessee's Office for Diversity and Inclusion to minority engineering scholarships had become law without his signature. Now, this is House Bill 2248, which reallocates all funds in the budget of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at UT Knoxville for the upcoming fiscal year into scholarships for minority students in engineering programs. So effectively, this completely defunds the UTK Pride Center. For more on this late-breaking news, we're going to turn now to Chris Sanders from the Tennessee Equality Project. Chris?
This is Chris Sanders with Tennessee Equality Project. I'm calling to report that Tennessee faces a special legislative session over transgender bathroom issues. It was reported last week that there is a possibility of a special legislative session after President Obama issued his guidance on the civil rights of transgender students and after the ACLU filed a lawsuit against Sumner County schools for their failure to accommodate a transgender student. This has put many legislators in an uproar, and many are trying to gather the necessary votes to call the legislature back into session. This would be a disaster for Tennessee, of course, and it would definitely put us on the map for discrimination. Tennessee Equality Project is fighting the measure by gathering signatures to both speakers, the Speaker of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, urging them not to call a special session of the legislature. We will continue to watch this story and provide you updates. Thank you.
This is Roddy Biggs, host and contributor of Gay News Radio, with an update on funding efforts at the University of Tennessee Knoxville Pride Center. As of 2:33 Eastern Standard Time, the center has raised over $2,000 to keep them running. You can find more information on this on Twitter by going to UTK Pride Center or by going to Roddy Biggs on Twitter. Please consider giving and keep this great and wonderful center up and running. And thank you to all of those of you who have called in or already contributed. The center cannot be here without your help. Thank you again, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
My name is Gloria Johnson, and I am calling about some of the recent legislation in Tennessee and things that they are considering in Tennessee. And I'm very concerned that in a state that, with tourism as one of its number one economic job creators and economic pieces for our state, that we're continually pushing legislation that is making us bad for business, keeping other states from bringing their conventions here. And the most recent defunding of our diversity department at our university is just a huge mistake when we're trying to recruit the best and brightest to the University of Tennessee and be one of the top colleges in the country. You can't do that by cutting funding for diversity programs. So what we've seen from our current legislature in Nashville is we've seen a lot of bills or discussion of bills that have generated across the country groups and conferences that are refusing to come to Tennessee now because of legislation that denies equality and legislation that is not, quite frankly, people-friendly or tourism-friendly or business-friendly. So I think we need to focus on the things people care about in Tennessee, like health care, and stop being a state of hate and inequality. Thank you.
Hello, this is Lloyd Dunn over here in Sumner County, Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee. I'm calling in to discuss my opinions on the defunding of the University of Tennessee Knoxville Pride Center and how the students are taking it and what other options there is right now and why our Governor Haslam, did nothing and allowed this to happen. The defunding of the Pride Center at UT Knoxville is a shame. There's no reason this should have happened. Our governor, he should have signed something to discourage this from happening. He should have spoke up. Just not doing nothing is unexcusable. I'm not too sure what the future holds for the Pride Center or any other Pride Centers or things such as throughout the state. But I know UT Knoxville, that was a beneficial element for many students. And defunding it and directing the money to other entities is uncalled for. I am not sure how the students of UT Knoxville is taking this. I can only imagine that they are taking it rough and don't understand why. I do have one thing to say to the students at UT Knoxville. Stand strong. Be your voice. Let yourself be heard. We have your back from Sumner County over here in Middle Tennessee and throughout the state. Your concerns, your voices is being heard loud and clear. Continue. The state legislature and this transgendered bathroom issue, as they are calling it. I have stated, and I have stated, and I have stated over and over again, there is no issue. There has never been an issue, as our legislatures are stating. Now they are calling for a special legislative session to tackle this trans bathroom topic. As I was stating on the transgender bathroom bill, there's no need for a special legislative session. And I will call out certain people, the representative from District 44, Mr. Lambert, U.S. Congress Lady Diane Black represents Middle Tennessee over here. They're calling it, as I was stating again, they think it's urgent to have a special session for the trans bathroom bill. As you know, Sumner County was just in the news for one of our own transgender students was refused access to a bathroom, so that sparked the ACLU to file suit against Sumner County schools. That's a topic. You will be hearing more about the issue over here with trans student in the Sumner County schools as time goes by. I can guarantee you of that. Sumner County schools with transgender issue released a statement that all schools is equipped with safe restrooms, unisex bathrooms, etc., etc. That is incorrect. As a husband of an employee and as a former employee of Sumner County Schools, the statement they released is inaccurate and false. There is no unisex restrooms for students, hardly any safe spots, and this needs to be addressed now. Should have been addressed years ago. Again, thanks for allowing me to speak. Hope it helps. This is Lloyd Dunn, running for state representative from Sumner County, District 44. As I've always said, be the change you wish to see. If not, we don't want to hear it. Get out and vote. Have a blessed day.
My name is Jennifer White. I am the parent of an LGBT student at the University of Tennessee, and I'm appalled that our legislature would meddle in the details of the budget at UT. I think it undermines the autonomy and integrity of the institution and makes us look like a bunch of idiots. As far as the Pride Center funding being redirected, we noticed that they were able to accommodate the other functions of the Office of Diversity under other budgets, but somehow were not able to accommodate the mere $4,000 that the Pride Center required to operate. This center is life-saving for these students, and it is appalling the message that the university, to which I pay thousands and thousands of dollars a year, is telling my kid that they are not only not important, but they are not welcome. And that is simply not acceptable for an institution that claims to be a major research institution in this country. It is doing harm. This decision has done harm to the university. It has done harm to children, and I am angry. And don't believe me, I will let my legislators know it, and I hope you all will too. Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Clayton. I am a senior at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I'm also a Pride Center ambassador and a member of the UT Diversity Matters Coalition. I am calling today to express outrage and just a lot of emotions, quite frankly, about the closing of the university's Pride Center. We were the only Pride Center or LGBTQ+ resource center at a public university in the entire state until February of this year, when there was another school that I won't name out of fear of their safety that was able to get some kind of center going as well. It's heartbreaking to see this kind of overreach happen, especially when it can be pretty well placed squarely on administrators at the university's shoulders and their lawyers for what I feel is a gross misinterpretation and overreach of the law that was passed. There was nothing mentioned directly that I'm aware of in the law about the Pride Center. The only directive was that the university could not spend any money promoting gender-neutral pronouns, in addition to a few other things, but that's the one that primarily pertains to the Pride Center. The student reaction has really been inspiring, though. Just anger and outrage and sadness and heartbreak from students from all over campus, students that both utilized the center previously and ones that didn't. People, I think, really know how much of an impact the center has had on campus in the 6 years that it's been there. At this point, we are still trying to figure out exactly what this means for the center's operation. We've been told by administration that the center will remain open. However, I would really love to know from them exactly how they expect a group of undergraduate volunteers to staff an office with no funding and no administrative support whatsoever. That would be wonderful to hear. But this has also, in a way, allowed us to say things that we probably couldn't have said before without getting in trouble, and talk to outlets like this and let people know that we are here and we are not going anywhere, and we refuse to let them keep us silent. We've actually started a fundraising campaign through ucaring.com. The link can be found on the Pride Center's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/UTK Pride Center. And we are trying to raise money so that we can continue, as a student organization, some of the programming and things that we had previously done through the Pride Center as an administrative office. Support either financially or just through spreading the word that we are trying to raise funds would mean absolutely the world to us. And we are so thankful to have an opportunity like this to be able to speak about stuff like this. Thank you all so much. Hope you all have a wonderful day.
Hi, this is Donna Braquet at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, an associate professor and former director of the Pride Center. On Friday, I was called into an urgent meeting to be told that I was no longer the director of the Pride Center and that the Pride Center was no longer an office on campus, and that this was the result of the statute that was going to be allowed to move forward by Governor Haslam. And so while other units that were underneath the Office of Diversity and Inclusion were kept whole and transferred to other places on campus, the Pride Center was not. The Pride Center was defunded, destaffed, and really discarded by the university as an official office, even though we had been on campus for over 6 years. And so when you ask me how I think students feel, and probably how faculty and staff who identify as LGBTQIA feel, I would say discarded. We were discarded by the university. We were discarded by the administration. We were discarded by our elected officials. And by their defunding and taking away the Pride Center as an official office of the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, that sent a strong message. It sent a strong message to alumni, to current faculty, staff, and students, to prospective students who might be, looking for a place to come to continue their career. It sent a strong message to prospective faculty who we might be trying to recruit. It sent a strong message to our best and brightest who we are trying to retain on campus in our journey to be the top 25. And so all of this, I think, sent a very strong message on Friday. And what's really kind of confusing to me is that the statute, the law that was passed by the General Assembly, didn't mention anything about the Pride Center being in office. It mentioned that no state funds could be used for the promotion of gender-neutral pronouns, for the promotion or demotion of religious holidays. Well, since the news came out on Friday that the center was no longer an official office of the university and that it was going to receive no staffing or funding, I would say that the students feel devastated. I've seen and heard a range of emotions from confusion to bewilderment to anger, frustration, but mostly devastation, I would say, would be the one term that sort of caught the feeling of the mood on Friday. The Pride Center was the one place where they felt that they belonged on campus. We are in the South, we are in the Bible Belt, we are on a very conservative campus in a conservative place in East Tennessee already. And when the Pride Center came into being 6 years ago in 2010, it was a bright spot. It was a place of hope. It was a signal, really, that things were getting better, and that that University of Tennessee, although still situated in these spots of conservatism, was doing the right thing by its students and was moving forward, like so many other universities who have LGBT centers, like University of Georgia and UNC and NC State and University of Florida. Even Texas A&M has an LGBT center. So again, we were moving forward, and we had just celebrated our 6th anniversary of being on campus this past February, and we've built up just an incredible amount of resources and programming and services for our students. And on Friday, that was taken away from them, and so I would say, they're devastated. Again, it was the one place where they could let their guard down. It was the one place where they could be themselves, their true, authentic selves, without having to worry about being harassed or name called or or harassed or even beaten up. And on Friday, that was torn away from them. The Pride Center was defunded.
Hello, my name is Zach. I'm calling in to comment on the University of Tennessee Knoxville Pride Center and Diversity Office defunding that has recently happened. My initial thoughts are that to many Republicans, this may look like a fortunate pendulum swing their direction, and let me clarify, religious Republicans. Unfortunately, the religious swing, it is only good for them because it helps justify their religious cause, which doesn't need any justification in this country anyway. But it just begins to move all the law interest towards a religious state. And we can see very clearly that any country, any government that is run by religion only results in violence, in death, in not just simple inconvenience, but it can result in the taking of life and the destruction of people and property in a very bullying way. This is the direction that our country seems to be going at the moment. It's very troubling, and it's these first beginning stages that begin to expose the underbelly that wants to very violently take away a lot from people for no other reason than they don't like them. And I sincerely hope that this can be either stopped or reversed. Thank you very much.
The University of Tennessee Pride Center has been a supportive center for so many members of the LGBTQ community at the University of Tennessee. And it is a shame to see such a fabulous and wonderful center fade away due to state legislation. Please continue to do everything in your power to keep the center up and running.
Yes, we're very confused about the interpretation of the legislative statute that went through. It mentioned no promotion of gender-neutral pronouns, but it seems that our administration and our university is then interpreting that to as a reason to close the Pride Center as an office on campus. And so this is causing a lot of confusion among our students, among our staff, among our faculty. And yes. Another thing, Chancellor Sheik said that the actions on Friday in no way diminishes their commitment to diversity and inclusion, and the students are really sort of confused by that. And how do you close an office that has been on campus for 6 years, that served the most marginalized of student populations, the LGBTQIA students? How do you close that office, defund it, and take away its only staffing, and say that that in no way diminishes the university's commitment to diversity and inclusion? These are just things that we're very confused about, and it sends a strong message to folks that that we're not wanted on campus, that we're not needed on campus, and that, frankly, they would just rather us not exist. Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Again, we are set up a You Caring fundraiser. You can find us on social media at UTT Pride Center if you'd like to donate and help the students continue the good work that the Pride Center has been doing for the past 6 years. Yeah, you have a great day too. Thank you. Bye.
The ramifications of this bill, which was even in just subcommittee back when I was at the Capitol, had already been felt. And part of the things that led up to this bill's creation was that the Office of Diversity and Inclusion were doing safer sex workshops, and we're talking about STD, HIV prevention on campus, and we're also talking about just other things on campus that made certain members of the community and their parents feel uncomfortable that we're being talked about on campus, which led to the defunding of the organization on campus. So it wasn't even necessarily at first, from what I understand, about defunding an LGBT center on campus. It was about just kind of being socially conservative on campus. So I think that they don't understand what all they are defunding, and I think that the office will survive. I think it's a year, but you know how it goes. When you defund something for a year, it's very difficult for it to survive and then to flourish thereafter if the funding does come back. But I do believe that the center, especially with all of the politics and all of the noise that's been going on around this, I hope that they will find funding through another department or through some other standard. But I do see the problem with not being able to fund some programming like that on such a huge campus. But I think that the state will get a lot of backlash on it because it's such a big department on campus, as well as other things that were trying to be defunded. I know that they were trying to privatize some of the cafeteria work and the security work at the state schools as well. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the state-funded universities other than this. So I think it's just going to kind of get wrapped up in a lot of the talk. And the governor even said he didn't want his hands on it. He just said he was just going to pass it without his thumbs up or down. So I think that it's going to be something that we need to take a look at. And I hope that between July and the start of the fall semester that they can kind of take a look at the budget and with other programs and see how they can still support the student body on campus.
Hello, my name is Zach. I'm calling in to comment on the University of Tennessee Knoxville Pride Center and Diversity Office defunding that has recently happened. My initial thoughts are that to many Republicans, this may look like a fortunate pendulum swing their direction. And I say, let me clarify, religious Republicans. Unfortunately, the religious swing, it is only good for them because it helps justify their religious cause, which doesn't need any justification in this country anyway. But it just begins to move all the law interest towards a religious state, and we can see very clearly that any country, any government that is run by religion only results in violence, in death, and not just simple inconvenience, but it can result in the taking of life and the destruction of people and property in a very bullying way. This is the direction that our country seems to be going at the moment. It's very troubling. And it's these first beginning stages that begin to expose the underbelly that wants to very violently take away a lot from people for no other reason than they don't like them. And I sincerely hope that this can be either stopped or reversed. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm Roddy Biggs, host and contributor to Gay News Radio. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who called in today to share your thoughts and voice your opinions on issues going on in the state of Tennessee, including the UT diversity defunding bill that recently passed. We loved hearing from all of you, and we hope that you all continue to support equality in the state of Tennessee and around the United States. For more information on what's going on in the state of Tennessee, you can follow Tennessee Equality Project at TN Equality on Twitter. Find them on Facebook at Tennessee Equality Project, and be sure to follow Gay News Radio on Facebook or on Twitter. And you can always follow me as well at Roddy Biggs. Thank you again for all you all are doing, and keep up the great work. We could not have done this story without you, and we hope this story reaches the hearts of many. And we hope that the Pride Center at the University of Tennessee stays around for a very long time. Thank you again, and on behalf of Gay News Radio, we hope that you all have a wonderful day.
You've been listening to Gay News Radio on the GNR Radio Network. Download our mobile app for iPhone and Android today. And have a good gay.